Welcome to The Local Lens, a great way to stay connected to what's happening right here in our community. This program replaces our previous series, Morning Brew, and builds on that same spirit of connection. In each session, we'll sit down with leaders and organizations to highlight the programs, projects, and initiatives making a real impact in our area. Our goal is simple: to generate awareness, spark conversation, and celebrate the work being done to strengthen our community. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to The Local Lens. With us today is Barr, City Manager, and Joan, Ecclesine, the Mayor. So with that, maybe we could kick off just asking you to tell us a little bit about yourselves, how long you've been in the position, and then we'll kick off with some simple questions. Does that work?
I'll let Joan go ahead first.
Okay. Yes, I have been a resident of Manistique for a good portion of my life. I was actually born here. So, and then went to high school here, went off to college, was away for 30 years. And then my husband and I moved back here in 92. So we've been here for quite a while again. So most of my life has been here in Manistique. I have been interested in city government for a long, long time. I had a great opportunity when I was in high school. I was part of a 4-H group for 14 years, doing different things with 4-H. But one of the things that we did was a civic leadership program. And it was through Dorothy Shipman. I don't know if anybody knows that name, but she was a dear soul who was dedicated to Manistique too. So she was our leader, and we ended up going on a trip to Washington, D.C. through that program. And that I just started to get more interested in government and more interested in the process. So it's been in my bloodstream for a long, long time. I've been very active in different community things, but then I can't even remember, Corey, when my first election was for city council. I think it was about 8 years ago. About 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was successful, and so I've been a council member since then. And just recently, in January of this year, I was elected mayor. The mayoral position is elected every January. Usually, I think the council makeup decides. It hasn't really changed in a while. And so Kim Shiner was the mayor for quite a while, but then she wanted to pull back. So I put my name in the ring, I should say, and was elected. And I have 2 more years on the council, and will decide in a couple of years if I'm going to continue or not. Sometimes my husband teases me and says, Joan, you need to retire. But anyway, he's not the boss, so we'll just see in a couple of years what's going on.
Does he know he's not the boss?
Right, he does. Yeah. You know, he thinks he is, but he's.
Well, he might know after this.
Yeah, he might know.
That's a great point for us to ask a few questions. How long is a city council term?
4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you've been 8-ish and have 2 more. Great.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Could I ask a quick question then? I'm wondering if while you're introducing yourselves, you could explain the mayor-city manager relationship. I'm real curious about how that dynamic works and what you're in charge of as the mayor versus what you are in charge of as the city manager.
Great question.
Okay, I can answer, I guess.
Okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So, as with past mayors, the city manager and the mayor pro tem speak quite often, at least weekly, if not multiple times during the week, and with email chain. So the city manager is responsible for day-to-day operations and the scheduling and the work, all of the workforce. I report direct to the council as a whole, and the council directly hires the manager through an open interview process. So
So does the mayor have any perceived authority?
Again, the mayor and the council have full authority over the city manager
Together.
and the clerk
Yes.
together.
Right.
Okay.
Not independently.
That's what I was trying
Right.
to, I think that was part of the
It is.
question.
I'm wondering that as a mayor, what you have control over. If
What's
you
your
are
responsibility?
Yes, it's your responsibility as mayor.
Basically, we're a weak mayor position because we have a city manager.
Right.
So it's different than other communities. I'm a member of the council. The council and we're all equal when it comes to sitting at a council meeting. I communicate with Corey a little bit more frequently as the mayor, just when we're talking about maybe working on the agenda for the council meetings and things like that. So that's really about it. Sometimes I have to sign a few more documents than I would as just a council member,
Yeah.
depending on what it is. And then I do things like this. You know, the face of Manistique a little bit too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So King Charles and Keir Starmer. Is that kind of the way this is working?
Okay, I guess we could go that route.
Yeah, right.
So our city charter kind of, you can go online on the website and pull it up, and it pretty much spells out council duties, city manager duties, clerk duties, treasurer duties. It spells everything out within the charter, and we follow that.
Okay. And does it address the mayor as well?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it. I guess I should have prior to this, but I think the question comes from, in other communities, you might see a mayor who is in charge of the operation. So I think
Right.
that's
Yeah,
where
yeah,
the
yes, yes.
question is derived, just understanding that. So thank you.
Detroit's like that.
Okay.
The mayor is in charge.
Gotcha.
And Lansing was like that. So if I had a question
Yeah.
about the budget, let's say the city budget, you'd go to the mayor
Yep.
to talk about it, and then with your individual city council. And also, you represent the whole city, right? We are not broken up in any kind of fuzzy boundaries.
No,
we're all
no.
at large.
Right.
They're all at large.
Nonpartisan.
And they're all
At
nonpartisan
large.
too.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
Yeah. So.
which is a little different than the county.
County.
The county has 5
Districts.
different districts
Okay.
or precincts, and they are partisan
Yeah.
at the county level.
All right. Perfect.
So you can see the two different forms of government within the same local area, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
All right. How about you introduce yourself so that
Okay.
we have that formally
okay,
as well?
Corey Barr, city manager, about 3.5 years now.
Okay.
So not too long. So prior to that, I was really a zoning and utilities guy. So for probably 30 years. So I was fortunate though. The outgoing city manager had showed all department heads. She had no hidden agenda. If you wanted to learn something new, she showed you how to do it. So I want to thank Sheila for that. So, but budgets are budgets, and I've been in charge of budgets for 35 years. So now I'm in charge of more budgets.
More pages.
And that is our ongoing task of being not only fiscally responsible, but it's also our ongoing. There's never enough money, correct? Especially general fund related items.
Yeah.
And we can get into that in a little bit if you have more questions about that. So we normally can have 10 funds, 10 separate funds, 10 separate sets of books that we are audited on annually. It has to be an independent audit. The auditor reports direct to council. Management has to answer a whole bunch, and I'm sure you're aware of that. We have to do a whole bunch of answering of questions to the auditors, along with we release our financial statements to the auditors for them to do an independent audit. We also have to do a lot of federal audits because we receive more than $1 million in federal money in particular years. So that's another process that the federal government requires and the state of Michigan Department of Treasury requires us to do. And that's a more in-depth audit. It's called a single audit, which is kind of odd, but that's what they call it. And then the GASP regulations now, General Accounting Procedure for Government stuff is getting more and more and more. They're tightening it down. So how we look at pension liability and OPED, which is other post-employment retirement benefits. They really squeezing it down on how we have to report that stuff.
And your fiscal year is June
July 1st to June 30th.
30, right? Okay.
Correct. So we're coming close to the end. We're working on final amended budgets for this year. We're also starting the audit process based off our current set of books. So, and then July 1st, we'll start the new year.
And those audits are all public information. They're on your website,
Yeah.
along with the minutes and the board meeting schedules and all of that. Or, I'm
And
sorry,
if
council
you
meeting
and if you can't find it on our website, which you should be able to, Department of Treasury also has them posted by year. Yep.
So jumping right into the questions, if you don't
Okay.
mind. I see you made the front pages of paper.
Did I?
Yeah.
You did. I do now.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So achieves MEDC redevelopment ready communities essential status. So I know this has been a big project ongoing for
3
four-
years?
Oh,
4 years?
I was gonna say
since
4.
2018.
So there's been
So it's been a
multiple public
long
meetings,
time.
lots
Yes.
of work behind the scenes.
Right.
Can you talk a little about what this means for the community?
I'll go ahead and
Yeah.
start, and Corey
Yeah.
can certainly add.
Yeah.
What we want to try to be is ready for industry, businesses to be coming into our community and have everything in easy order for them. So one of the things that we had to improve was our website. We had to relook at some zoning things. We had to look at how we posted things on our website. We want everything to be transparent and open. It was a process of, that probably was the biggest part of the task. We also had to really take a closer look at all of our boards and commissions. So when we talk about planning and zoning, rec board, DDA,
ZBA.
zoning board of appeals. We had to look at those boards and make sure that they had rules of procedure or bylaws, that they had everything in place for their meetings, so that all of their members, we had to look at how we have people that are interested in government. How do they apply to maybe be a part of one of those boards? We have to make that all public, and that process all part of our website, which we have done. So it's been a lot of tedious little work, and it did take some time to get that done. City staff is limited, so council members helped with that. So we all took on little separate projects and tried to develop what we needed to develop.
Did you also have to look at the master plan?
Definitely.
I was like,
the
I know.
master plan,
Yes.
capital improvement plan,
And also our 5-year rec plan too.
the 5-year rec plan. Those are all things. Planning and zoning annual report, things like that. We had to make sure that things like that were being accomplished. And so it's made us more transparent. It's made board members feel maybe more comfortable with the role that they're in and why they're there, and the importance of all of those different commissions and boards.
Yeah. So I kind of look at things. I've been a zoning administrator now, probably almost 15 years. So so we had to take a deep look into the zoning portion of this and make some housing changes, what's allowable, what's not allowable, to assist in downtown development, right? So one of the big changes is now we do allow by conditional use ground floor apartments.
I was going to ask.
To utilize space that could have been just left vacant
Yes.
or unusable.
And previous zoning said it could only be second floor.
Correct. So subtle changes like that make a big difference. If like even this space here, it's a big space in the back. You could, if that was the business owner's desire, they could put an apartment in.
Yeah.
So simple things like that.
And housing is important.
And housing,
we think
well, we
about
have
industry coming in.
huge shortage
We
right
need,
now of
we
all
need to
housing.
kind of get that under control, or not under control, but just perfected, and help with it.
Right.
So before we can look attractive to businesses, maybe thinking
So
about coming.
we've had an ongoing project at 109 River Street, your project, Floyd's project down the road, and then the old inmate property.
Yes.
So there's been 4 similar type developments in redevelopments of them buildings that were vacant. Not only does that help out with the shortage of housing, but it helps out the city with higher taxable value, right?
Yeah.
The buildings are now useful.
And people living and working downtown is important to the core of a downtown. So I think that's really added some value, bringing some rental units online, but also that they're in the downtown area.
Yeah. So something else we did, I'll just stay on housing a little bit, or rental, is so we have a short-term rental policy, and we have just a rental ordinance too. So not policy, I should say ordinances.
Yeah.
So what we did there, we looked at some other communities that have a lot of problems with unavailable affordable housing for the regular general public. So take our neighbors to the north, there's very little available in Munising for the people that live there year round to buy and be able to afford. So they have to move out, drive in. So we didn't really want to have that same situation in Manistique, even though we're not as touristy maybe as Munising. So in the R1, R2 districts, we limit short-term rentals to 5%.
Tell us why that is. R1, R2.
So residential 1, residential 2. So residential 1 is you're allowed a single family dwelling on a lot, the correct size lot. R2, you'd be allowed a duplex. So we have a mix of R1, R2, residential 1, residential 2.
And what
Throughout the
district
city.
are we in here?
Oh,
This would be a restricted business.
Okay.
The downtown area is restricted business.
So is there a B1 and B2 as
Correct.
well? Okay.
Yep. So general
Just
business is
understanding.
your highways,
Okay.
like US 2, parts of M94. There's not a lot of difference in zoning in them, but what restricted business allows is the common wall construction of buildings.
Okay.
They built years ago around the property line, and you have a common wall to the next business. So
And there's not, those same restrictions do not apply to short-term rentals in those districts. They're only
correct. Yeah.
in the residential.
So for if you have an upstairs apartment that is a short-term rental, that's completely allowable.
Okay.
Yep.
But if you have a home, say on Oak or Lake Street, and you have an upstairs apartment, they're limited to 5%.
Yeah. If it's long-term, then we can have as many long-term as we want. But the short-term, which is a rental less than 30 days, 5%.
And do you know how many are registered right now? Like what percentage are you at?
I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but I can get that information back to you. But I think we have 65 registered
Wow.
short-term rentals.
In those two districts.
Yep. In them districts. Yep.
And what's the total number of homes in those districts? Do you know that off the top of your head?
It's
Sorry.
around.
Are we close to the 5% is what
No,
okay.
we got room to move.
Okay.
In that 5%, when the planning and zoning and then city council then approved that ordinance change, we said that might be a moving target.
Yeah.
Right.
That it's even though we set it at 5%, if maybe that isn't the best long-term number,
Certainly.
maybe we go to 7% or 10%,
Okay.
or maybe we have to go back down.
Right. So you had to start somewhere.
We had just, yeah.
And that was, you received that information from other communities, or did you do some studies? Or?
Yeah, we looked at Escanaba, Marquette Township, City of Marquette, Munising, of course, St. Ignace, of course.
Okay.
And a lot of them places now are going back after the fact and going to put in restrictions.
Okay.
If we didn't want to do the restrictions the same as the county, I just felt that wasn't the right way to go. The county's is set up way different.
Certainly.
Right now, school
They have a
control.
limitation on number of weeks. And
Yeah, that would take a lot of staff to keep track of, and quite honestly, more paperwork than everybody needs to do. as far as the city is concerned.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the county monitors that, but they
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
have some restrictions that require you, I think, to
20 weeks or
report.
something, or
I think it might be
20
28,
Yeah, 20.
but you have to report what those weeks are.
Right.
So they've made some changes.
But the
And they are looking at,
compliance on it and having people power to.
Yeah, can be a little
enforce can be
challenging.
challenging.
Absolutely.
so,
Putting us together, that's a
We-
consideration.
Right.
so we have a good, I shouldn't say good, we have a way of enforcement of the short-term rental and the long-term. If you don't comply, we're going to shut your utilities off, right?
Can you do that?
Yeah, we can.
Oh,
It's in the ordinance.
wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. If you're not complying with our ordinance.
No water.
Yeah, so,
At the end of that, wouldn't it?
well, you'd be surprised, though. There are,
Yeah, places that.
we have places that have been without water a long, not for that reason, but
for other
have been
reasons.
without water for a long time. And
So we've kind of diverted a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
And that's okay. I wanted to kind of come back to this because I remember, and I don't know what funding looks like today, but I remember at some point part of this was businesses could apply for what was called Match on Main or something like
Yes.
that, up to $25,000 for in grant funds. And I wonder if that's still funding that's out there. Have we looked at that? Is it something we can help with?
yeah, MEDC right now, they're kind of, because they don't, there's some, I think, bills proposed to reduce some of their funding. And
Okay.
That might be one of them that's on the chopping block
Okay.
at this point in time. But, we're headed into a midterm election where that doesn't really affect the state level too much. But once the governor position changes, if it's a party change, I think there's probably going to be less funding MEDC wise, is the way it seems to be headed.
Yeah.
When you
I
talk
just-
to Lindsay right now, our rep with MEDC, that seems to be the way it's headed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure with the current economic
But-
climate, but
Yeah.
I remember that being a significant grant for downtown businesses to be able, I believe it was for capital improvements,
Yeah.
equipment, could have been facade.
Well, okay, so we can talk about that one real quick. So one of the things that our DDA board has decided is to get back into a structured facade program.
Okay.
And the reason is to be able to, once we have issued grants to a couple businesses for a couple years, then that makes us eligible and the property owner eligible to then go back to the state and apply for a state facade program.
Okay.
We would still match up to, say, at the current level of $2,000 per grantee. So them grants are a 50-50 match. So let's just say it's a $100,000 project. The business owner would have to come up with 50, or excuse me, 48,000 if it's approved. DDA would kick in 2, and then the state would match the remaining 50%.
Okay, so your current facade is grant,
Just-
is just the $2,000 match,
Right.
From the
right?
It's all
DDA.
local money.
All
for that.
local.
And there is no state facade?
Well, there is, but we're not eligible at this point in time. We will become eligible after our program is up and running, and they can see that we've issued some grants.
Is
small
that
grants.
a new thing? Because I know we had a facade grant program years ago. So did some of their
We
rules
just never,
change?
the facade program just never carried through and kind of dissolved. And
Okay.
so this is what MEDC said we had to do.
To bring it back.
Yeah, and they came and gave a presentation to DDA and council about this. So we did award 3 grants this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, through the DDA, and they were approved at the last DDA meeting.
So that's public. Can you share who they
Yeah,
were?
okay, so so we have a facade committee. There's, 5 of us on it, I think. So we review the grants first, and then we present to to the DDA for final approval.
Okay.
So DDA had approved, so this will start the new fiscal year, July 1st. They had put $6,000, so 3 grants.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we're going to go back and do is modify our criteria just a little bit based off what happened this year.
Yeah.
So the Elks Club submitted 2 applications because they kind of have 2 facades, one in the back parking lot and one in the front.
Okay.
And right across the street, Manistique Computers
Okay.
submitted one. And they were all eligible based off the criteria that we had
Certainly.
wrote down.
Okay.
So we graded all 3.
Great.
So, but moving forward in the future, if I think it'll become more and more popular, right? And maybe DDA, if they can afford it, might increase that, say, to 8,000, so you could give out 4 grants a year. But if a particular business did 2 in the future, if there's funding available and nobody else applied, we still would look at it. But otherwise, to give everybody else equal opportunity, we wouldn't probably issue 2 to the same business.
Because you could end up with that with all your downtown. They
Correct.
have a street
Correct.
facing and a
So-
parking lot
Right,
facing
right.
facade.
Right.
TVA issue any more of those this year or
No,
next year?
it'll be next year.
So this was a July 1,
July 1.
26, so it'd
Yep.
be July 1, 27.
7.
Yeah, so I think we opened it up. We started taking applications in April 1st. Because by the time you actually issue it, for people to get a contractor on board to come up with an estimate. So they have to be able to show us a basic estimate. In order to get the 2,000, they have to be spending 2,000 of their own. So it's
Right.
still a 50-50 match.
Okay.
So I believe the Elks on the backside is around 30 grand. So it's a
Wow.
sizable investment that they're doing.
Certainly.
And then the front wasn't quite as much.
And how long before we can qualify to apply for the state facade program?
I think, if I remember correctly, I think we got to be up and running 2 years.
Okay. So
But I can
28.
verify that again for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that there were businesses that were interested, but it was, I shouldn't say only 50%, but these things are really expensive. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
you said, if it was $100,000, the business owner had to contribute 50, but the grant funds were significant as well. So just wondered if those funds, how long before those funds would be available?
I think, is it Charlevoix downstate that they have an up and running program, and they've had some big projects.
Yeah.
I think you can go on maybe their website and look at them projects.
Okay.
Yeah, facade projects.
And will you be posting those on the city's website as well
I
as a
think
way
we
to
will definitely
track
post.
that?
We'll probably create a link or another title that'll say facade program.
Okay.
And then
All right, so
have the ability
anything,
of pictures and stuff.
I think it'd be great to be able to see the progress and, look back and see what was
Oh
done.
yeah.
Anything else on that redevelopment ready that we didn't cover?
No, I think we
I was
covered
super
it.
excited. I know
Yeah.
STC helped with some of that,
Yeah.
and so there was a lot of significant amount of work, like you said.
And we're not that far off of the next level either.
Right,
So that
right.
we could talk about that briefly, I
Yeah.
guess, right, Joan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at the kind of like the entry level.
The entry level, the next step is certification level. So it involves where, and with that, you become, MML will, and MEDC will help you a little bit more
Yeah.
with applications and grants and things like that. So we're going to look seriously at just trying to we're going to keep on the right track, Council will, and try to just go ahead and submit, look at what criteria needs to get done, and we'll just get it done much quicker because we know the kind of process that needs to happen. So,
Sure.
yeah, we'd like to move up to the next.
I think of all the items that are in both levels, we got the hardest ones done
Right,
already.
right,
So-
yeah.
I remember that
Yeah.
first step was the biggest
Yeah, there's
lift,
only like,
but
I don't know, there's not very many even with this next step.
no.
But it just,
So and we were, with this whole process, we did get a couple of small grants to help out with the process. There was, for the master plan, we had a
Right.
grant.
yeah,
And then, so, yeah.
and that's been updated and it's on
Yeah.
the website.
Yes.
So that's a good read if you haven't
And,
read that.
we just, we had our annual strategic planning meeting a week ago, and at that meeting, we went step by step through the master plan, because there is implementation strategy for each of our different areas of the master plan. So we're going through that. We made it through about maybe half of those steps, and so we're going to continue that process at our council meetings and do the rest of the review. Some of those action items in the master plan have been completed. One of the things was our branding. That was in there as an example. So, I mean, we have completed things in the master plan. There might be things that need to be added to it as we keep looking at the next, 5 years. And then we'll just, we want to make sure that we keep it active and a usable document.
Yeah, so the previous master plan was dated like 80, 70.
Yeah.
So it's really it was a big hurdle to get this done. So
It's not as long of a document either, the new
Right.
one. It's way more user-friendly.
Yes.
Easier to flow through.
Offer something here. RRC, I think, is an amazing program. I mean, when we moved back here, we had kind of stumbled upon it and thought it would be fantastic for our community. So I'm super excited and just applaud you guys for
getting
taking
it
steps.
done.
I think it's a fantastic signal for those that might be looking at considering our area
Right.
to come in here with business, because it tells them that we are practicing best practices as a community, and it just kind of checks off a box for them. So
Yep.
I think it's fantastic. Thank you.
So when I do my drive-through every couple days through all the city streets, look for everything, right? Blight, potholes, somebody painting their porch, but even the downtown district.
I can report some potholes.
So can I. The one thing that to me, since COVID, that's been amazing for Manistique, prior to, say, 2018, just before COVID hit, we had 110 homes vacant in Manistique. How many do you think we have vacant now? Maybe
Very few.
10?
Yeah.
And
things
they
would
get
sit on
sold
the
almost
market
immediately.
for a
They don't
long
stay
time.
vacant very long.
But pretty close, way less than 100. That's for sure.
So I look at, but even just driving down here, we had a lot of vacant storefronts or vacant buildings, and we're down to what, 1 or 2 right
Yes.
now. I think the progress, not only the city has made, but people willing to come in and take a chance in Manistique.
Well, we're one of the few communities that saw a bump in population over the last census period.
Yeah.
One of 7, I think. I think I said 4 the last time. Victoria sent me a note that said 7
Okay.
UP communities have seen growth in population, and Schoolcraft County was one of them. So really something to be proud of. But to that point too, Corey, you are absolutely right. Like, things would sit on the market for 3, 6, 9 months.
Oh, yeah.
Businesses would go for sale and sit on the market, and now
Well,
you see that
I can tell you
much
8
quicker
years
turn.
ago,
Yes.
It's been 8 years since I've been doing this now. The average city home price was between $55,000 and $60,000. Now it's like $125,000. I mean, it's
Yes.
doubled. In
Yeah.
8 years, the average home price in the city limits has doubled.
Big difference.
Yeah. Thriving downtown, thriving business community. It's apparent that people care and want to work here and work here.
I think a lot of what makes that all happen, though, is we have a great healthcare system that offers a lot of things that a lot of rural places would not normally offer.
Absolutely.
And they are the largest employer. So the feedback to the community through either rental or purchases of property or just everyday living in Manistique area is awesome. We have a great school system. We have a great Medicare. So we have, I think, all the pieces to the puzzle to make this a better community. One of the things that is part of Schoolcraft County and Manistique is the age. I think the average age is 58 or something. So we are an aging community, and so if possible, to bring back some smaller factories, similar to maybe online engineering.
Yeah.
Smaller places that can employ 20, 30 people. We would love to have that. And we have a couple industrial properties that the city is willing to, they're on the market right now to sell.
And that's been part of that resilience, economic resiliency plan as well is really marketing those industrial properties. So that RRC was important to it. So, you know, hoping that we can attract those smaller companies to.
So with STC's help, Victoria, we received an $85,000 industrial park grant. That was a combined effort between the county and the city. So that we were able to go in and do a phase 1 study and wetlands delineation, and so now they're marketable and they are on the market.
Yeah. And where, for everybody, where are they located?
They're north of Manistique. If you go past online engineering on the gravel part of Cedar Street up over
Way
the railroad
beyond.
tracks,
Okay.
they're up in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and utilities are not very far off. So if somebody is willing to buy them, utilities are right there just prior to the railroad tracks.
Okay.
So we'd be able to supply water, sanitary sewer, and all that.
Right.
And isn't the Tannery a Class A road, so that if you've got semi-traffic that needs to get to the industrial park, that can work? Is that true? Do I remember that right?
Tannery is Class A, so the problem we have there, I think we have there is the speed limit change off the highway.
Yep.
You know, we
If we can get them off of the highway onto the Tannery.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, coming,
Safely.
you know, in, I think it's a great deal, but
Going out.
you have to go probably the other way.
Yeah.
But that could easily be a truck route or made a truck route. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I know it will surprise neither of you to know that a big passion of mine is walking and walkability and this sort of psychological separation that we have and physical from our own waterfront and the beach. Can we talk a little bit about that? I think MDOT might be coming to a summertime DDA meeting, and I know we're going to do signs. I'm very excited about some of the things that might get people across the street, but even crossing these roads is tough.
Right.
Can we talk
During-
about, walkability?
Well, we want to start as the city actually doing the lines and the parking, you know, painting the streets so that we have delineated parking spots, we have delineated crosswalks. We, we definitely want to do that, because for us to hire a company to come in is very expensive. So we're in the process of, pricing out equipment and then, making sure that we get that going. That is a big project for downtown, for all areas where parking is part of it, and also pedestrian crossings.
Yep.
We've talked about lots of different things, can you make this one way and, have, M94 is MDOT's so-called property, but, we can't change that, but, could we do something with this? We talked about, and thinking about all different kinds of options. A lot of some smaller towns, some larger towns, they have more of a delineated pedestrian crossing with things in the middle of the road and things like that. So, and it really makes a big difference, when you go to one of those places and you're a pedestrian and you're crossing the street and traffic stops and you're like amazed.
I know. Like, wait, what's happening here?
You're amazed. I know. I don't know.
So a couple things we are looking at is instead of a 6-foot path, we're going to make probably for the crosswalks, they're going to be 8-footers the next time we paint them. A little bit wider.
Okay.
And then we think we're also going to stencil just prior going both directions, like up here and here, and maybe the next intersection, right on the roadway, speed 25.
Yeah.
Because people aren't really paying attention to the signs and they're going way faster than 25. So
And even 25 is fast to me.
It is fast coming through town.
yeah. So
And then when you see the semis that their GPS is sending them to 94, or they miss it and they're coming
down,
Main Street.
Right.
And I am just constantly shocked at the number of people who do a U-turn downtown.
Oh, yeah, I see it all the
Parking space is
time.
open. They're doing U's right out here, right out there. I have never in my whole life have I ever thought about doing a U
No,
on Main Street.
not downtown, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So wider crosswalks.
yeah, wider crosswalks. Like Marquette puts that center stop sign out in certain areas, like up on 3rd Street. Our streets really aren't wide enough for us to really do that. So we're looking at other options. But there's, at one time, there was a thought of having kind of an archway above so people could walk to the archway and walk across. That kind of just died out, the interest in that, probably due to cost.
I thought that was over US 2.
Right.
Was the
I think,
archway.
but even I think
Oh,
M-
that,
M-
yes,
at
no,
one time wanted-
M-Bank.
they
M-Bank
wanted
was
one
going to
too,
do that,
and
that's
Okay.
right.
I don't really know why
Yeah,
that.
they talked
I'm
about
not really
it.
sure why that just didn't happen. But
Like a skywalk. kind
Yeah,
of
skywalk.
between the 2. Okay. And then what about the separation from the river or the waterfront? And then
well, okay, so there is the potential, the possibility, and that's why MDOT is going to come and talk. I don't think it's the next DDA meeting. It's the meeting
July.
after July, I think. Yeah. So, and they're going to explain, how their funding works. So MDOT works on a 5-year plan. So if you're not even on the 5-year plan, there's no money available. They're 5 years out in their
Cycle.
staging of projects, and it's all based off mostly wear and tear of the roadway. And they will tell you their sole purpose is to move traffic, and that's their sole purpose. They don't really. I hate to say they don't really respect the pedestrian traffic,
I think that's 100% fair to say,
But-
but also,
but
yeah, sorry.
unless so they base it off of traffic accidents and fatalities, how they look at their safety
Okay.
before they make a change to something.
I think there was talk a few years ago at one table or meeting or another in where, there's been some harm to the community by separating the downtown
Oh, yeah.
from the waterfront. And I think from what I've heard, and I don't know anything, all I know is what I heard. So you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but that there may be some funding from MDOT to correct some of that because of if we could prove some of that. Is that correct? Is that just something that was floated?
I don't.
I don't know that there's dedicated funding,
No.
but we certainly could appeal to them
Yeah, and
for
that's
what
part
they
of,
did to us.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
And I think
that's
that'll
our
be
one,
part of the discussion
action.
at the DDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
almost like a public action item.
And that's they will be there as part of a public meeting, right?
Yeah,
Not a DDA.
right.
talking
DDA is a
heads sort of
public.
thing. Yeah, I just mean you're not
Yeah.
all getting together with them on a separate.
No,
thing. It's part of
it'll be a
meeting.
public meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we should
Yeah.
all go.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
And until then, there are plans to put signage to the tunnel.
correct.
Yep.
And improve lighting. I think
Yep.
there might be some discussion about arch.
Yeah,
in
that
that
was brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of graffiti, hopefully, right? So
And when would we expect to see any work on that?
the signage portion has been approved by DDA.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to be actually July 1st. We'll order all the signs up. Well, we'll probably order them ahead of time, but
Okay.
they'll go up sometime after July 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, for the signage. They selected the size they wanted and,
The
at
style.
the last meeting.
Perfect.
So
Where does it come out? On the other side of US 2, where is it? I know where it
At
starts.
the marina. I mean, it just sort of dumps you off. And it's where the fencing is.
Yeah.
You kind of have a long walk. And actually,
It's a great walk.
perfectly, yes, it's 100% serviceable. But it looks dangerous and people don't like to use it and it's not clear. The signing will help, obviously.
Yeah.
That's going to be great. They just don't know where to go and it doesn't look inviting at all.
Right.
So really, it's a perfectly good walk. It just needs to be better.
yeah, just
And when you think about multimodal transportation, we're fortunate. We've got a great airport, probably the nicest little marina on the upper lake. We're very close anyway.
yeah.
The issue we have is if somebody boats in or flies in, how do they get here, right? And so
Right.
there's no rental vehicle. Right now, Uber, not a thing. you know, so that might be something we think about and tackle as a future project, right? How do we resolve that? So that it's more appealing.
Yeah,
to fly
I know.
in.
I know. Like out at the airport, some of the people that fly in on a more routine,
their own
they
car.
keep their own car out there. So, yeah, I'm not sure how to. You know, I thought at one time Agua Rentals was going to kind of get into that a little bit, but I don't really see that. I haven't seen that happen yet.
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. So, yes.
We thought about e-bike stations or e-scooters or anything like that for transporting around the downtown area. I know some students, because I work with the students quite frequently, some students have even said they would use them sometimes during the summer to get to like Dairy Cream or things like that from downtown.
See it in larger cities.
Yeah.
But wider
So I don't know. I think if they're under a certain size, they're not as regulated as other ones. You know, and I don't know enough about them honestly to totally speak on them. But along with that, there will be at some point in the back parking lot over here, closer to the old Renzi Ford garage, there will be a level 3 and a level 2 charging station put in, non-Tesla, which apparently, I guess I wasn't aware that if it's a non-Tesla station, that it's not on the same map as Tesla has. So if you have a Tesla, it won't show that one on your Tesla app, but it will show on the State of Michigan app. So I don't know how to get them to talk to each other, but it seems like a glitch both ways to me. But anyway, there will be a level 3, which is a rapid charger, and a level 2, which is a medium charger.
What is the timeline for that, approximately?
Cloverland says they want to break ground any time, but of course they've been telling me that for about a year too, right?
They said as soon as the snow is gone,
So-
they'd be there. Well,
Yeah,
they're
snow
not
is
there
gone.
yet.
So,
Snow's gone.
Anyway, so that's going to happen.
how about, did we answer the question on walkability?
Yeah,
okay.
I feel.
Yeah. How about the work that's being done at Project Playground? Oh my goodness, I was over there last week. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Really nice equipment, really like usability, comfort. It's really nice.
So I really like to say a thank you to Jody Tiglas, who was our clerk for a short period of time. She was very instrumental in helping me write that grant. Like she did 90% of it.
Like she did 90%.
Right, and she did, and so I just want to reach out and say thank you to her. We received $800,000 with a $50,000 match. Unfortunately, we're a little over budget, so we are going to have to borrow a little bit to finish out the job. So it was kind of twofold: a little bit of the outside equipment and a little bit of fixing up Little Bear West, which is our ice rink. So the playground equipment is somewhat, not all of it's 100% ADA accessible, but portions of it are. So we wanted to make it accessible from 2 years up to 100 years.
Yeah, it's
And
very
that's how we wrote the grant.
well done.
So beautiful playground equipment. If anybody remembers the old stuff, it served a purpose for its
It did.
time. But being made out of wood, it was time for it to go. They are working on finishing up the pickleball courts as we speak.
That was my next question.
Yeah,
Pickleball courts.
Yeah, so there'll be 2 of them there.
Okay.
And then Nick's got a little bit of restoration work to do down there. So inside the ice rink, we're painting all the beams, the main beams that hold the roof up. They were all very corroded, rusted. So Bosk Painting is in right now doing that. Johnson Control will be putting up 2 big dehumidifiers in the ice rink. So when we first flood the ice rink, it's very steamy in there, condensation. So that's what makes the corrosion happen. Until you get really cold weather outside and cold weather inside, then it kind of subsides. So we need the dehumidification in the beginning of the season and at the end of the season, or if you're running an all-day tournament too. So that'll be a huge, both of it will be huge to the survivability of the building. Yeah.
Yeah, really great work over there. I was really impressed. What else? What's coming? We've got a few minutes left, but what are the big projects that are coming? I know that was a big project, but what's coming? What don't we know about, or what have maybe we just haven't heard about?
CSO Phase 2 water, CSO Phase 2 sewer. Normally they're a combined project when we do it with USDA, but we ended up having to separate these projects just because they were bid out during COVID initially. Bids were way higher than expected. They had to be rebid multiple times. Different contractors bid on them. So we finally got a good bid on the water side. So our rural development or USDA allowed us to separate and get the water portion done. And then then they finally ended up giving us a little bit more money on the sewer side. So that was North Houghton and South Houghton is CSO Phase 2 sewer. CSO Phase 2 water is a lot of invisible stuff. Anytime you're underground, people, once it's buried, don't realize what you did.
Is it invisible in that we're not ripping up streets, or?
Well, so we only had to rip
Can't
up
be prevented, but I'm like, is it really invisible?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but usually once the grass grows,
Yeah.
people don't realize that everything underneath was also replaced. Because
Certainly.
we really won't do paving unless we're going to do the utilities.
Okay.
Because the asphalt has become so expensive to do. So we are going to do three smaller projects this summer that are just paving related, a little bit of stormwater related. So the intersection up here by State Savings Bank is in really bad shape.
Yeah.
And it's one of the key points of walkability with students and people. In the ADA ramps, when they were put in 15, 20 years ago, they used the fiberglass bump pad, and that doesn't work in a colder climate. So we got to go back to the cast iron. So we're going to redo a little bit of the intersection up there with paving and get some of the trip hazards fixed. Otter Street, which is a project with the ISD, that's going to get paved this summer. And in 3 blocks of Cattaraugus, from Oak Street to Arbutus.
Okay.
There's no utilities under them, but because of the back way to Jack's, people that want to stay off the highway, it's a highly traveled road now, and then coming off of Lakeside Road or the Tandy Road. So, and then school busing and all that. So them 3 blocks will be done. That'll be Major Street and local street money that's used for that, not general fund.
What about Oak Street?
And then part of Oak Street, we had a seam blowout this last winter between Lake and Range. So that would be the north side of the road. So we're going to grind a third of it off from the curbing out, or 14 feet off, and repave that section. Because it's right in your wheel lane where all the potholes are. And it must have been a cold seam when it was originally poured, and it just blew out this winter.
So Manistique Gap from Potter Street to US 2.
Corey says.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, it's on the list to do. So CSO Phase 3, I don't know how much time we got. We're in the works of, so CSO is combined sewer overflow. Sorry about the acronyms. So we have a consent order that's built into our discharge permit, a wastewater discharge permit that's issued every 5 years. So within a discharge permit, there's a timeline of required sewer separation. That means the stormwater has to be separated from the sanitary sewer, because that's what during a storm event or a snow melt, that's what overwhelms the system, and we end up with an overflow. And the state does not want that, and the federal government doesn't want that. So everything is CSO related, but when we're doing the sewer and the storm, we're also going to do the water. We're not going to not do the water. I mean, that would be kind of crazy. Even though when you go to rural development, they are funded 2 separate ways. They usually just mill the project together for you. But it's 2 different funding, 2 different applications actually.
So you are doing that street or not?
We're working.
I don't know that I got that.
It's on the list.
It's on the list.
It's on the list. So you hate to be curt about how this works. So you do an application with a set of engineering plans to rural development, and then they come back with an offer, an obligation or an offer of grant to loan ratio, And we usually are eligible 75% grant, 25% bond or loan, based off of a lot of factors in the community. High rates and our medium household income in Manistique, not Schoolcraft County, but in Manistique. So when they look at all that, we're usually 75-25. But like you said, housing's doubled in a short period of time, so is construction. So what we used to bid out at $400 a foot in rock is now $800-900 a foot in rock. You get less and less for the amount of money they give you.
Yeah.
So
Someday?
Have to,
I think I heard someday.
someday.
well, it is on the list to do. Number one, because of drivability. But number two, when that was put in about 30 years ago, they didn't follow what our current specifications are, which would have prevented what happened there. So when you drill and blast in bedrock, and then you go to backfill with loose material, sand or so, what happens is that sand likes to migrate out in the fractured bedrock then. So that's what creates all this. So to prevent that, we have a very specific specification now. That newly blasted trench and the existing blasted trench have to be lined with a special fabric before you backfill. And that prevents the migration of fines out into the bedrock over time. And that didn't happen on Manistique Avenue like 30 years ago. So
So I have one more question for you, and it's around increasing housing density inside the city limits. My question is around accessory dwelling units and the ability to perhaps permit some of those, which I understand would require some zoning changes. But would the infrastructure that's in place support that much more population? And depending upon how many you were to put in, right?
you mean like a garage with an apartment or
Granny flat.
I call it grandma's shack out back.
A
It's
granny
the
flat.
second
Yeah.
single family home dwelling
Okay.
on a parcel of land.
Typically
on a lot.
small,
Yeah.
Very small.
600,
So the
700
the
square
county
feet.
does allow that, if you have the correct acreage, but the one thing to keep in mind is that house would not be PRE.
Okay.
What does
So-
that mean?
So,
Primary
Oh,
residence.
So-
correct, yes.
so it would be
yes.
taxed at the full rate, so that, and that's not something we can
My question is the
control.
infrastructure in place for
Yes.
water and sewer that would support that much more population density
Yeah,
in the city limits to
our-
offset or increase tax dollars?
Our treatment facilities have capacity, both of them, in quite a bit of capacity
I think that's
at this
a
point in
big,
time.
important first
Absolutely.
step.
Yeah.
towards
So,
being able to consider that.
manpower would become, there'd be more manpower or people power involved in making more water and treating
Right.
more sewer, but you'd have more money coming in with the rate structure, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so no, there's, the water plant on a day that we're not flushing, is making 450,000 gallons a day, and it's rated at 2.2 million.
So lots of capacity.
So there's a lot of
Lots
capacity.
of capacity.
Exactly, so, that's my soapbox.
And the Headworks project
Yeah, so
is
currently
gonna
over
be
at the
finished when?
municipal wastewater plant, it's a $20 million project. And it has to be completed basically by the end of this calendar year. That's the way that ARPA funds
So
were set up in the public
it's
act.
good to get that out to the
Yeah.
public because it's, it's,
And
we want it to
why
be
that was,
done. We want it to get cleaned up over there.
and why that was so much money, and you don't see it now because they've backfilled, but, when it's all said and done, and the asphalt's down, and the grass seed's growing, and the fence is back up, you're gonna see one floor building above ground, but what you don't realize is there's 3.5 floors below ground.
Wow.
We're down 36 feet
Wow.
into the bedrock, into the groundwater. So the construction of a building to withstand that hydrostatic pressure, so the bottom walls are 26 inches thick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but that was the depth we had to get to connect the pipe properly that we put in underneath the Manistique River that allows the sanitary sewer from this side of town to flow to the treatment facility. We currently have an existing double barrel siphon or pipe under the river that is about 70 years old. And it was, engineering standards have changed, so we've put a new one in at a much lower level to prevent sedimentation within that pipe.
All right.
I have just one more
Interesting.
question, so, sorry.
Yeah,
sorry,
no.
My last one. Over here, the river pathway,
Yep.
you know, I send people there all the time. Is there any legitimate way for people, do they have to walk on that dirt ATV path, or, I mean, Eric and I just sneak over and use the other, but I'm just honestly curious because we send people there all the time.
So
Where can we safely and
with assistance from Limestone Federal Credit Union's
Financial.
board in the director.
Financial, right.
Or financial, excuse me. They have, for, I think for $1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We have a right-of-way easement now. So that will be clearly changed shortly here.
Yep. I just have to sign the easement. So,
oh, okay.
yes.
So then we will walk in from.
It'll be, you're going to walk in basically the same area, but you're going to be on all city property.
Okay.
And it'll be clearly marked. The trail will be slightly moved
Okay.
at a little bit of an angle. And then the other property owner stuff will be restored. We'll probably put a rock here or something. But anyway, the trail will be clearly marked and delineated.
Awesome. That's
Yeah.
great.
So we own the property behind us and provided an easement so that it could connect to that.
Yeah.
So a
Back up to
great
Main
walkway, you know, really great project. So
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
happy
That's
to-
great. That's wonderful
Yeah.
to hear because it's my favorite
Yeah.
place in town, practically.
Well,
So,
and kudos to the city and to the people that are in the government and working on it. So we sell the city basically, right? We don't just sell a house, we sell everything. And we've got great healthcare, as you mentioned, great school system. But the infrastructure and the continued investment in infrastructure that the city has made make it much simpler and easier to have those conversations with people from Chicago, Grand Rapids, you know, wherever.
Yep.
Hey, we have the best municipal water in the state.
We do.
Hey, we have that, you know, and to be able to go down a running list like that and say, and it's getting better over time is just astonishing, so thank you.
Yeah. Our water treatment facility is one of the most modern facilities in the whole United States, not just Michigan. I encourage people to schedule a tour over there
Yeah.
and see
we
it.
can do that.
yes, we
It
should
has
have
to- it has
scheduled
to-
it as part of this.
Why don't we do that?
Yeah. And when we do,
That's real slick.
and when the new
I
treatment at
forget
the
about that.
wastewater
Lori
plant-
always offers.
Yeah, and when the new treatment at the wastewater becomes operational, we're going to have an open house there,
That's
and
really
that'll be
cool.
that'll be
That should be a celebration.
posted.
Oh, gosh, yes.
So one of the things that people don't realize in sanitary sewage is people flush everything, right?
Oh, yes, they do.
Needles, so we have a lot of sharps, flushable wipes, which are not flushable. People flush them, but you should not.
Right.
And a lot of other things. I mean, we get bricks, we get 2x4s, we get tires, because we still have a partial combined system.
Tires?
Tires, yeah. So that stuff ends up currently in our main pumps because we have no mechanism to remove that stuff, other than hopefully the pump, which are chopper pumps, chop it up, and then we can remove it further downstream within treatment. The new system will have 3 millimeter, little over 1/8 of an inch bar screens that will pull all that stuff to the surface for us and dump it into go through a compactor, squeeze out as much liquid as possible, and then dump it into an endless bagging system. So our operators will not have to physically touch that stuff as much. Because right now, you end up taking a pump apart, and the only way to clean it out is to clean it out with your hands.
No thanks.
That's
No
neat.
thanks.
And kudos to the people that do that work.
Yes.
Yes,
right.
absolutely.
And
America's
And the people
nastiest
that-
jobs.
that
Yeah,
clean
Manistique's
the
nastiest
snow
jobs.
And our garbages, I mean, things happen very fast here, especially for a small team of
Yeah.
folks. I don't know, how many people just do your sort of general outdoor work? I mean, and I know that's a big dumb question, but I just mean.
No, it's
Okay.
amazing
It's
how
amazing.
how small it is.
Mowing,
How small it is.
Yeah.
maintenance.
So we have two DPW maintenance tree workers. Two that are full-time. We have a full-time mechanic who is about 50% for public safety, 50% for the DPW, the Public Works. You know, because he services all vehicles, ambulances, police cars, plow trucks. And we have one supervisor who works.
Wow.
So this time of year, though, so we do hire, some part-timers that work full-time for the summer. A lot of times returning college students that have been with us a couple of times. So they help out with the mowing in the cemeteries. You know, we have the 2 cemeteries, plus all the other city property. So Steve, one of the maintenance worker 3 guys, he's on that mower about 10 hours a day all summer long.
Wow.
Bouncing around, whether rain or shine, he's mowing.
The marina area is huge.
In the
Well, and all
cemetery,
along the
Cemetery.
The
border,
US2 stuff,
Yeah.
all of it, yeah,
Yeah.
excellent care. We live across from one of the cemeteries.
yeah.
We're there all the
Amazing.
time.
Yeah. So the campground has its own staff based off of revenue based up from the campground, you know, so, and that's, a lot of times it's returning people. So there's 6 or 7 people over there at the campground, but they're just part-timers for the season. And then the same thing in the wintertime for the ice rink. We just have a couple part-timers that fill in there.
Yes, not
amazing.
many. Not
Yeah,
many.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to join us today. Really great session. We are a little bit over. Did anyone have other questions? Anybody? Yeah, good conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Good.
You know, so I have an open door policy. You know, I mean, I have a lot of things scheduled on my calendar, but if you come into City Hall and I got time, you're welcome to come in and talk to me. It is something you hear it from us versus
The rumor mill.
something else, right? So, you know, one last thing, you know, EMS and EMS millage, you know, we were successful about 2.5 years ago with that. You know, and that'll be an ongoing forever thing, right? So as we get closer to the 5-year renewal, Tim and I will be going out again and talking to all the townships, the county, people within the city. You know, again, you go back to the average age of 58. Who needs health care? You know, it's the aging population. I mean, the young need it too, but without the EMS service, boy, a lot of things would fail.
That was going to be one of my questions as it relates to the budget, but we just kind of never got to it, which is
Yeah.
fine. Is that should have really relieved some strain on the general fund, right? 'Cause every
It
year
did.
we're transferring to cover
Correct.
those operations. So.
Correct. Yeah. So EMS is now, you know, unless something else changes with rules or something and how staffing has to work, EMS is very stable with the current billing structure and the millage. You know, but you know, so like the hospital through their public acts, they're considered a medical facility, so they're made whole at the end of the year under Medicaid and Medicare. Our ambulance runs are not, because we're not considered medical. We're considered transportation by the federal government. So it's an odd deal. So you know, you only get about 58% on Medicare and less on Medicaid. And then if they're uninsured, you get 0.
And
Now-
if you don't transport them but go on the call, you get 0.
Correct.
I remember you saying
Yeah.
that, like,
So-
you could go out to GermFast, and if they
Yep.
refuse or don't need to be
Right.
transported, you don't get paid.
Or if they pass before we get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get anything because you only get paid on a loaded. It only starts on a loaded mile. Yeah. So
A viable loaded mile.
yeah. So yeah.
Thank you. I have
It
to go
is.
back to my own job.
Yes,
Oh.
so do I.
Thank you so much. This was great. Thank you.
You're
I have to
welcome.
get back to my other job.
Well, I know. I understand that too.